your lover. I will understand you, baby. Wanna be your lover. I will understand you, baby. Wanna be your lover. I will understand you, baby.
Verbally Effective, episode 44. Your double E, Ina Esco here. Thank you guys so much for listening to today. I can't believe we're actually on episode 44 now. And, you know, we've been talking about mental health on a lot of the previous episodes. And I finally, by the grace of God, have a mental health expert in with me today by the name of Justin Dodson. How are you, Justin?
I'm doing pretty good, Ina. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. You know, I've been waiting on you because I kind of need a little professional counseling myself, stemming from a lot of things that happened with me as a young girl growing up with, you know, just domestic abuse and things of that nature. And I think like all of these years, I've just kind of been suppressing it. But now I kind of see that maybe I need to talk to somebody. Mm-hmm. So you can definitely help with things like that, right?
I could do that.
Okay, well, before we get into me, let's talk about you, Justin.
Okay.
Now, you're from Memphis. What part?
I am. So I am from like what I like to call Midtown North Memphis. My friends talk about me when I say that, but I grew up in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
Okay.
So like North Memphis one way, but then Midtown the other way.
Okay.
Yeah.
They be like, you North.
Right, so you from North Memphis. Right?
Oh, Lord. So how was it growing up?
Growing up was good. So born and raised here in Memphis. I went to Snowden Middle School, the middle K through 8, and then Central for high school.
Okay.
So my mom and my dad, and then my brother. My brother is about 3 years older than I. And then my father passed the day before I turned 10 years old. And so since then, it's just been my mom, my brother, and I. And so growing up was good. You know, I was always in extracurricular activities, and I was always able to go on school trips. Did not have a lavish lifestyle by any means, but I don't think our lights were ever cut off. Right. If that makes sense. So it's like you don't really have what some of these other people have, but you're not completely without. But I had friends and I was involved, and so growing up was pretty good.
Okay, and you said extracurricular activities. What kind of extracurricular activities? Were you in sports or just other activities?
I was the opposite. I was a nerd.
Okay.
So I was in your beta club, student council, choir. I engaged in things that made sense to me and that felt good to me. And my mom tried to do sports. I did soccer.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
But look, everybody start off on soccer, right?
I can name you every goal that I made in soccer. I can tell you exactly what was going on because it was by accident. But
wow.
I did that, and then I was in choir, and I made good grades.
Right.
I was the smart kid.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of had some of the same experience. I was in all honors classes, but I did play sports. Volleyball was my thing, but I was sort of a thespian because I was in theater as well, and I used to love going to the competitions, but beta club as well. I was busy.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to stay busy because I really didn't want to stick around at home. I wanted to be away.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you graduated from Central and you went to UT Chat.
I did.
How did you select UT Chat?
You know, so I was talking to somebody about that earlier. I actually really wanted to go to Harvard. Harvard was my dream school, but then my god sister went to UT Chattanooga, and so that allowed us to go up there a lot. And so I was vaguely familiar with the campus and the school and the dorms. And so the last minute I got scared, and I was like, no, I'm gonna stay at U of M because that's where all my friends are going. But then my mom said, no. You cannot stay at home. You have to go away to school. You have to grow up. You have to do this. And so I said, all right. So I applied to MT, Memphis, and Chat. Got into all three. I said, I know I'm going to Chat. I only applied to the other two for backups. Half of the graduating class I went to with Central, they either went to Knox or Chat. And so I ended up there, and I loved my 4 years there at Chat.
It's like a beautiful scenery out there at UT Chat, right?
Yeah, it is. It's so completely different now. So I was like, all right, well, that's where my tuition went. So
right,
right,
like years later.
Right, and you think that you're the sole reason why this building is built. But I'm appreciative to have been able to go to college there.
Do you still keep in touch with the people you graduated with, or still like go home for homecoming, stuff like that?
So I actually went to homecoming for the first time this year.
First time since you graduated?
I've never been to a homecoming in general.
Okay.
Right? So like my friends they went to TSU. I have friends that went to Spelman and Morehouse, and so they'd always try to get me to go with them to their homecomings. And I said, no, that doesn't make sense. I didn't go there, but now I get it. And so I went to my own, and it was a lot of fun to connect with people that I went to college with, and it brought back a lot of memories. And then you saw when you had hair, and you look back on pictures. You know what I'm saying? When things were good, and you were skinnier.
Look, I understand.
Right, and you had food stamps, and so. So yeah, that was fun. I went this year for the first time.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a graduate of Lemoyne College, and I, did my first live podcast with the students there during their homecoming and just hung out for tailgate. And I understand what you're saying, like reconnecting with people you went there with and like just reminiscing on all the good times. So I had a good time at homecoming too. So let's talk about how did you determine your major at UT Chat? And what was your major?
Yeah, so my major was psychology. So throughout high school, I actually did mock trial because I wanted to be a lawyer. So I was on a team that traveled. We were actually with MOGW. It was a mock trial team, and we were made up of different students from some different high schools in Memphis. So I did mock trial, and I wanted to be a lawyer. And then for some reason, when I went to college, I said, no, that's not my gift. That's not my talent. I'm really good at talking to people. And I've always wanted to be what I don't believe I had, if that makes sense. So I got to college and I said, I'm going to do psychology and I want to be a counselor. And that's what I did. And I believe that I got there because I believe it's my purpose in life to help people lead a better life through whatever avenue that means. And for me, that means through talk therapy. So went to Chat, and then when that was about to be up, I said, all right, well, I need to go to grad school so I can actually make money. So I applied to Lipscomb University in Nashville. A lot of people have never heard of Lipscomb, but that's where I went.
I heard of Lipscomb, yeah.
And so I actually was the first black male to graduate from that school with a degree in professional counseling. And the rest is history. So it really just, I found my way, my vision. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned you were the first African-American male to graduate from there with psychology. Why do you think that you were like the first, and is just not many black men into psychology? Or
that's a really hard question. So it's interesting because since I was the first black male at Lipscomb to graduate with that degree, then after that a couple of people came after me. So I don't know if I can say that I paved the way.
You did,
but
you a
not many,
pioneer.
right? Did something, didn't it?
Yes, you did.
But I just don't see a lot of people that look like me. Right. And so when I got to the program that I'm in now, working on my PhD, they were saying, well, who was your childhood hero? And I said, honestly, my childhood hero was my imagination, because that's how I got to see a lot of the things that I didn't actually see. And so that even meant from like seeing people come out of bigger houses than I lived in, or nicer cars than my family drove. And it was really learning how to create a life that I wanted for myself, but then also fitting that into my purpose. And so that's how I got to counseling, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're not going to make a lot of money in that. And I said, no, you create the revenue streams that you want by using your talent, by using your purpose. I cannot add and subtract. I'm not good at math. Don't ask me to build anything, but I can talk to people. I can hear people. I can really see what people are talking about, even if they don't say anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like kind of like an innate gift. Like,
I really
seriously,
do. I do believe that that's part of it's a gift. It's a purpose, and a lot of people are going to school now. A lot of my students, I'll ask them when they get to the class, because I do adjunct teaching as well, and I'll say, "Why are you here?" And they say, "Well, I just want to help people." Well, that's not good enough. We all want to help people. Everything that we do goes to the greater good of human society, if you ask me. No matter if you're a cashier that made someone's day better and got them the service they needed, or if you're a janitor that keeps things clean so we don't have disease, right? And so I love what I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Justin, how would you define psychology, like at a high level?
It's really just the study of the human brain and personality functions. I always compare it to sociology because I minored in sociology. So sociology is more so cultures and community and the way your world works around you, and then psychology is more so of the individual person that you're looking at. And so psychology was just a natural segue to counseling, and that's really how it works.
You're like a mind reader, right? Like
No.
you can, like it seems like with a psychology degree, and then you're, doing your PhD. Like you meet someone new. It seems like with your training and background and gift, like off top if somebody being straight up with you.
Yeah,
Do you?
I believe so. But it's interesting. Every time I meet people, I'm always hesitant to tell them what I do sometimes because as soon as you tell somebody that you're a therapist, it's like, oh, well, you're analyzing me. No, actually, I'm not. But I do think that I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I can pretty much pick up on things that people are doing and saying and why. I always like to get to the root of whatever the issue is.
Right.
So, like growing up, I'd always talk to people and people would come and talk to me about their issues because growing up is hard.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Being a teenager
Yes, it
is
is.
hard.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I knew that I needed to be what I didn't have because I was bullied as a teenager and talked about. And I remember coming home sometimes just sad and crying because I didn't feel like I had anybody to talk to. So it's like, you know what? You're going to be that person for somebody else. And so that's why when I started my career, I started working with adolescents because I wanted to be like almost like that cool older brother, almost uncle figure, but in a professional way. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Just so teenagers could relate because I'm still young, and so they could relate to me, and I could speak some of their language.
Right.
But then also aware to know that I need to learn more from them so I can keep up with the time.
Wow, you're talking about bullying, and these kids, they definitely need an outlet and someone to talk to. So that's great that you help out with the adolescents. And you hear so many stories about kids committing suicide because of being bullied, and now we have social media.
Yes.
And I mean, how do you feel about bullying with the input of social media as it relates to psychology?
I think that it's really a delicate subject because we're always in our phones, we're always on social media, so that's just the way the world works now. And so I'm only 30, but when I was growing up, we didn't really have things like that. We had MySpace, you had Yahoo Messenger, but those were ways to communicate with people without really seeing them. And so now I love the media because you can look up anything at the drop of a hat, right? It's a gift, but then sometimes it can be a curse.
Yes.
In terms of bullying, kids sex, right? And they send provocative things, or they know that that's how I reach you because I can embarrass you on a big level, right? And so I can put it out there so when you go back to school, everybody sees it. So it can be a beautiful thing if you use it the right way. But then I always say that children are meaner than murderers because they really know how to get to you where it's really going to hurt and where it's going to stick.
Yeah, and now they have an audience to do that with.
And then when you give people an audience, that feeds the monster, that feeds what they want to do, and that makes them feel better about themselves. But usually when people are bullying or when people have it out for you, that means that something at the root of them isn't right. And what I'm doing now is I'm choosing just not to absorb what's not mine. I'm choosing not to absorb what doesn't belong to me. And so when people try to talk about you or put you down, that's really not yours. That's something going on with them, and they just see you as an easy target, or they see you as an opportunity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that like the definition of a hater? Slick.
In some cases, yes. Yeah, in some cases, yes. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I have haters." Do you?
Do you?
Do you?
Right.
But in some cases, yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah. I mean, everything you just said is like, you said someone else projecting what they're going through, That makes so much sense. And, with you being a mental health expert, I mean, I'm so glad you're here, Justin, just breaking it on down. Now, after reading your bio, I also see that you went through some racial profiling.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I went to Snowden and I went to Central, right? And so those are two pretty mixed schools. But when I was growing up, fun fact, I wanted to be white.
What?
I did. I wanted to be white, or I wanted to be light-skinned. So I grew up, I had glasses, I had acne. And so I struggled with self-esteem a lot growing up just because I couldn't get somebody to like me because of the way I looked. But then it wasn't completely bad. And so I grew up in a space where on this end of the street, it was really predominantly black families. And then as you gradually went towards Midtown, you saw more white people coming out of those houses with bigger houses, bigger cars, nicer things. And so I automatically assumed that just being white was better as a kid. And so I grew up wanting that. And then when I got to college at UT Chat, and I remember walking in class one day and I just said, no, you're black. And this is what it's going to be. You can't stop being black. And so it really took some self-exploration and reflection to really sit in the mirror and say, embrace this, accept this, because this is something that you can't change. So that was my experience growing up, and I love being black. I love being a black man. I love being educated. I love being in the space that I'm in. But I went to Lipscomb. And so in class, I was the only person that looked like me. When I go to conferences, I'm typically one of the only people that look like me.
Wow.
So I graduated from Lipscomb in 2013, and I was in Midtown, the Outback right there on Union. And I was walking with a friend of mine just in the neighborhood. And so the police started following us. And so I was like, all right, what is this? And so the police stopped us and they said, have you guys seen anything suspicious? And so at this point, I have glasses on, I have a Henley, some destroyed jeans, and a beanie. I don't look threatening, right?
Right.
In my mind, I don't look threatening. I look like an Old Navy ad. And so he stopped us, and then we went on about our business. He was like, do you guys see anything suspicious? And we were like, no. So then we kept going. And then he just kept following us until we left the neighborhood. And that's the day that I realized it doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter where you went to school, who your family is. Some people only see your color as a threat. Some people only just will judge you off the way you look and not what you can prove to them once you start talking. And so that really changed the trajectory of how I view myself. Because I think there's one thing to know you're black. I always knew I was black, but I never understood what that meant. And so I think once I stepped into what does this mean for me and what does this mean for how other people see me, that's when it really changed the trajectory of what I believe in now as a black man, and even influenced me as a counselor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, since we've been talking, we talked about your experience with racial profiling, and at this day and age, you mentioned Trayvon Martin. We have so many of our black men under attack, and it's just really so prevalent right now. Even with the recent story with the young man Jamel Roberson, he was that security officer that was just doing his job and subduing a person from committing more crime, and the police pulled up out there in a suburban area in Chicago, killed him on the spot.
Yeah.
So why do you think that our black men are under attack, even at a higher rate right now, when everything is exposed? We all looking, and the police still don't care. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. I think that being a black man is one of the most beautiful things in the world. I truly do. But I also believe that some people are threatened by the black man, because I think the black man has power just in the presence of a black man. I've been on elevators before where people that don't look like me, right? So I don't even know if they were white or different ethnicities, but they didn't look like me, and that they would hold their purse closer or they held their children closer. And I think that our presence sometimes is just threatening. I think sometimes we do bad things. And then that sets the precedence and the stage for every other black person that they see. And that's just that's simply not the case. But I think we're under attack because it's easy to get away with right now. It's easy to get away with.
Especially with 45 and all.
Yeah. Tacky. It's always, it's always been what has happened, but now we're just seeing it more because of media. And that's scary, because then our young boys, and even myself, people my age, we're looking at this. That's vicarious traumatization, because I'm looking at people actively getting killed on Facebook Live.
Right.
I'm watching the news to see yet another black man has been killed. And the sad thing about it is that people are getting away with it. And then there was the whole controversy of Blue Lives Matter versus Black Lives Matter. And my problem with people saying Blue Lives Matter, yes, they do. But if that was the case, black people wouldn't be getting killed. Right. let's just really look at this. You can take your uniform off and still be safe. A black person cannot take their skin color off.
No.
Someone from the islands, they can't change their accent. And so I think it's just been easy to get away with because the way the justice system works.
It's so messed up. I have two sons. I have a 13-year-old and a 5-year-old. He just turned 5 last week. But like you mentioned with, you see it so much in the media, it's like when a news story break, I don't even want my 13-year-old to watch it anymore. I don't want him to be desensitized and just think it's normal. Because when we have a conversation about it, he's like, Mom, why are they doing this? It's hard to answer that question, but I just think we need more positive images just all around too with our black men. I actually was the mistress of ceremonies last night with the men of Phi Beta Sigma, and it was the Male Image Awards for African Americans. And just listening to their stories was just phenomenal. The honorees and the scholarship recipients, because they are making an impact in our society. And I was just thinking I should have had Dallas with me. That's my 13-year-old, because I want him to see this. See these males that are really out here doing something positive in the community, and these kids getting scholarships for all the work that they've done, to let him know what you're doing right now. He's a straight A student, Beta Club. I want him to stay on track. I really do.
Yeah. And you create the spaces that he needs to have to see those images. I think that's awesome. It's because growing up, my mom didn't necessarily raise me to be a black man. It was more so just be a Christian, be good to people, be kind. And then as I grew up, I had to learn what it meant to be a black man. And so the message was always pray, go to church, go to Sunday school, be kind to people, which are great values that I wouldn't be who I am without them. But then I think as an adult, I had to then learn, okay, so now that I've come this far and I've learned these things, now what do I need to now be a black man? What do I now need to stay alive? What do I now need to thrive? And I think that started with education. My parents always taught me that education is the one thing that no one can take from you.
That's true.
And so I don't technically believe that college is for everybody. I just personally believe that something is for everybody, whether it's building a hustle, finding a trade, going to college, being an entrepreneur, anything that you can do to add value to society and still be legit is the way you should go. But you also should do things that feel good, that are healthy, that add value to who you are and to the world. So create those spaces for our young men and say, it's okay to be smart. It's okay, because in school, kids get bullied for being the smart kid.
That is crazy.
I remember being in the cafeteria at Snowden Middle School, and kids would throw food at me.
Because you were smart.
Because I was smart. I didn't sag my pants. I didn't do the things that they were doing. And for them, they didn't know how to take that. And so now as an adult, I'm like, oh, they were being fed messages that this was not right. Like what I looked like, what I was doing, how I was being, just wasn't, I don't understand that. So now as an adult, I say, I choose not to absorb that because that really wasn't mine to deal with.
And they were just being some old followers anyway. And you was the leader.
Yeah.
And they was Jay.
It's interesting that, so I used to adjunct at ITT Tech before it closed. I taught psychology, and one of my high school bullies was a student there.
What?
Years later, my friends were like, did you say something? Nope. No need. There's no need. Your patient life will come back around.
It always does,
It
doesn't
does.
it?
Yeah.
It really does. Justin, I have thoroughly enjoyed you. You are so informative and real and very transparent.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Now, if someone wanted to seek your professional help, how can they get in touch with you?
So I'm on Facebook. The name is Justin Keith, Justin Keith. On Instagram, it's Mr. J Keith, ITSMRJKEITH. So those are my handles on social media, and then through that, you get my email address.
Will it be affordable? You can work with them?
Absolutely.
See,
Absolutely.
holla at my boy Justin so he can help you. If you listen to this podcast and everything that we've been discussing, experience anything that we've been talking about, it wouldn't hurt to just contact Justin and see if you do need to take this step and get some help with all of this mental health issues that we have going on now. Because I'm seeing a lot of suicides and people just, they're always saying it was mental. They had mental health issues. They had mental health. I was like, wow, this is everywhere.
Yeah. One thing that I would like to say, how you're seeing a lot of white men with these mass murders,
yes,
right? And so they always claim the insanity defense.
Off top.
Right? Mm-hmm. Mental health does not make you kill people.
No.
Mental health affects how you function as an adult, as a person, but that doesn't technically make you go kill somebody. Sometimes it does, depending on if you're having hallucinations, but most of the time, no. Alcohol and drugs don't make you go kill somebody. That gives you the freebie of saying I was under the influence to go and do this.
That shouldn't even be allowed for them to, claim they had mental health issues with all these mass murders.
Yeah.
Because you know that's what they're going to claim.
Yeah.
Off top.
Yeah.
We got a lot of work to do, don't we,
Yeah.
Justin?
And a lot to talk about, right?
Thank you so much. And I wish you nothing but the best in your career, Justin.
I appreciate the opportunity.
I think we're going to see you on TV.
Let's hope so. Speak it.
I am speaking
right
it.
Now, tell the people.
YouTube world.
Tell your family.
Look, audio world.
Put
we're
your
going to see
boy on.
Justin Dodson professionally making his TV debut on a very, high level very soon. I'll say beginning of 2019.
Okay. Let me get my good suit out.
Get your good suit.
I got one good suit.
Look, I'm sure you got a tailor and some more stuff, Justin, but I'll be in the audience clapping you on.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Justin. Verbally Effective, episode 44 with Justin Dodson, mental health expert in the book.
Please hang up and try again.